kind of my mindset with all of it now. It's like I don't look at myself as a basketballer. I'm just a human who's just trying to like get better at being a human. It's crazy how common it is in professional sport for people to just be consumed by whatever sport they do. I would love to do something creative. I would love to dive deeper into photography potentially.
I think that's like such a missed space there.
I just put my head back. I was like, my kneecaps on my hamstring. I'm done. I just laid back and just cried, and then ended up going to hospital and go through that whole process. And then from then on, it was like It was just like, let's go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is Under the Surface. I'm your host, Annalee Maley, and I'm here with Kenny. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
So what's your full name and who do you play for?
My government name?
Yeah, tell me your government name. Give me your government name.
Matthew Dylan Kenyon.
Your middle name's Dylan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I play for South East Melbourne Phoenix.
Slay. Love that for you. What have you been up to today?
Well, we just had a nice day training, cruising, and now I'm doing this. Enjoying it.
What does your usual post-training look like at the moment? Like, what's your post-training routine?
We live in Melbourne, so it depends if the sun's out. It's actually out right now, so
yeah,
thanks for
sorry.
doing this.
You're totally welcome. Totally welcome.
But nah, just cruise, have a coffee with a teammate. Nothing too crazy. Recover, go to do an ice bath, sauna, all that stuff.
You have a spot in Melbourne, right, that you go to?
In a studio. Shout out.
Shout out.
Yeah,
there you go.
Studio.
Okay, so we were talking just before. You're considered a veteran.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the people are saying. But I wanna wind it back to the beginning. Tell us about young Kenny. Like, as a kid, how would people describe you? Where did you grow up? All of the things.
Damn, interesting. Yeah. I was a hothead when I was young.
Yeah.
Which is funny because a lot of people don't believe it now because I'm quite I'm quite mellow for most of the time. I have white line fever, but yeah, I was a bit of a hothead. Just grew up in a little beach town called Avoca Beach, north of Sydney. Loved it. It was an amazing place to grow up, just around the beach all the time, which was sick. Playing hoops all the time, obviously super driven, like really, really driven, had no balance whatsoever as a kid. Just
basketball.
Yeah, just basketball to a T. And that's kind of what I guess led me down to where I am now, where it's like way more balanced and way more healthier of a relationship with basketball.
Okay, well that makes sense. So, but right, you at school, how would your teachers describe you? Like, were you a troublemaker? Were you super social? Or like, even at that age, you're like, nah, this is what I'm doing?
My attention span was horrible.
Yep.
So all my report cards were, he has a lot of potential, but distracts everyone. You know, all that jazz, ADHD. But
yeah.
I was pretty respectful kid. Tried my best, wasn't a massive academic, wasn't bad either, friends with everyone, you know, typical sporty kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the first time in like maybe your young basketball, like still talking about you as a kid, do you remember like the first time you thought like, hell yeah, this is what I want to do? And then contrary to that, do you remember the first time you like doubted yourself?
Yeah, so I played footy growing up, rugby union, not AFL.
No way.
Yeah.
Seriously?
I played rugby.
Is that the union? Is that the one where they throw people up into the air?
Yeah.
Were you a thrower?
No, I was at the back.
Nice.
But played rugby, and I was like pretty good at rugby, probably better than basketball. And then everyone kind of kept going like this, and I was just going like this, and I'm like, all right, probably going to break my back if I keep playing.
Yeah.
We'll go basketball route. And then from then on, it was like It was just like, let's go. Let's see how far we can do. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it.
And so like that lack of balance that you talk about, what was the first time that you realised that there was a lack of balance?
Probably a lot later.
Yeah.
A lot later. Like, damn. I went to Brisbane when I was 18, so fast forward a little bit, but that was my first professional year.
Yeah.
And I was still just like super driven, only focused on basketball, nothing else.
Okay.
And like just went downhill. Like everything, just injuries, didn't know what to do with myself outside of basketball when things were going bad.
Yeah.
All that jazz. So probably then, yeah.
I want to ask about that injury. That was 2018, right? So like after your season at the Village.
I have no idea. Yeah, probably.
So 2016, 17, you were with Brisbane.
Yeah.
Right? And then 2018 knee injury. Talk to me about that.
So the back end of my 2 years, I had like a pretty hectic knee injury. It was like basically it was one of those sessions where the coaches were like, should we train, should we not? But we were struggling at the time.
Yeah.
And I basically backpedaled to go chest blast Anthony Petrie, shout out Peach. And he hit me and my foot was just like stuck in a weird position and my knee just went all the way around to like my hamstring.
Yeah.
And I never had a serious injury up until then. It was pretty.
That was your first injury. So in that moment, did you know that like, you're like, also you can swear on this, but like, were you fuck? Were you like, I've done something, or were you like, oh, it's a corky, or like,
oh hell no, no. I looked down and I just put my head back. I was like, my kneecap's on my hamstring. I'm done. Yeah, it was hectic. Yeah,
and then from there, like that like moment of injury, like those emotions, like I know lots of people talk about like PTSD from injuries and they like real panic like every time something small happens.
Yeah.
Do you have like a similar thing, or were you able to kind of work through that?
I just cried.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just put my head back and it was already such a hard 2 years in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was just like the icing on the cake, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like it needed to happen. Like obviously I learned that a bit later on through the rehab process. But yeah, I just laid back and just cried and then ended up going to hospital and go through that whole process.
Yeah, so
hectic.
The rehab process and that, like obviously at some point you were realizing like, okay, well I'm going to have to take 12 months or something off. What like, and are you saying at that point you're still like ball is life, ball is everything, like basketball is...
I think that was when I learnt it, you know? Like I was still definitely ball is life, like hardcore, like just in the gym. I was so determined to get back. And I think that's why, touch wood, I haven't had anything wrong with that knee since. Yeah. I like worked my ass off. Like I was in the gym at like, not to sound like Kobe Bryant or whatever, but I was like in the gym at like 2 a.m. just because I couldn't sleep and I was like, I need to get this thing right. And I did everything. I didn't skip any steps. So I think I was kind of learning that I needed to have some balance, but I was still in that mode. And then like, I guess you go through other different experiences in life and then you kind of learn it.
Talk to me about some of those experiences where you feel like you learnt that.
I guess just like my mental health was kind of struggling when I was going through that rehab process, and I didn't have anyone really helping me out. One of the Bullets physios was in Sunny Coast, and my brother lived in Sunny Coast. So I went to Sunny Coast and I was seeing that physio, and my brother was there, but he was working all the time. So I was basically by myself. Yeah. And I was like, 19 or 20. I had no job. Like I had no experience in anything else. Yeah. And I just had this bum knee. Yeah. And I was like, obviously in a pretty dark space, like mentally. And I guess that's where like towards the back end of it, I was like, okay, I need to find other avenues and a bit more balance in my life. Otherwise I'm just going to keep going down this path of just like basketball. And then when it doesn't work, I'm just like, heavily like down mentally. Did anyone during that period ever like suggest to you to like go talk to someone or like see a psych or anything like that, or like that was never really like given to you as an opportunity to be supported in that way? I didn't really have like much support when it comes to that, like, which is interesting. It definitely should be, you know, like for no shade on Brisbane, but like I felt like after that year where I did my knee, it was kind of just like, we're going to look at free agency and we'll let you know kind of how it goes. And I think they probably knew they weren't going to re-sign me. And like, I think clubs can do a better job with that. But I also individually probably wasn't seeking it, you know, I probably wasn't mature enough to be like, okay, I need to see someone. I'm like still in that mindset of, I just got to get through it. I'm tough enough to get through it. Like I'm a tough individual. You know, which is obviously the wrong mindset, but
Well, I think about like even... because you spent a little bit of time at the Institute as well, but I think about my time at the Institute and I'm like, mental health wasn't really talked about that much. Or when it was kind of like, oh, you got to go speak to what's-her-face, like the psych. It was forced and it wasn't really used as like a tool in the same way that like going to the gym would be. And I think that's like such a missed space there. But like, did you ever feel... like in moments where you were like, oh, I should probably ask for help? Was it like, because I know with men it's different, right? Like there's a bit of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bit more stigma when it comes to mental health. Did like during that period of time, did you feel like any sort of like guilt, shame, whatever for like feeling as low as you did?
No, I don't think so. I think one thing about me, I've always been like very open to being vulnerable. Like probably too much when I was younger. I said I was a psycho. Let all my emotions out. So luckily for me, I've never had that problem of, being open and being vulnerable, which has helped me.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people can fall into that trap, of course, especially men.
Where does the vulnerability come from? Like, is that like something you got from your parents or like?
I don't know. Well, when I grew up, like my parents broke up when I was 7.
Yeah.
And that kind of threw me for a loop a bit.
Yeah.
And I was just a very emotional kid. I've always been emotional. Like I feel things very deeply. Like I used to cry like every second basketball game when I was young.
Yeah.
And obviously, now I can control my emotions a bit more. But I don't know.
Yeah, but feeling things deeply also means on the other flip side of it, like you get to feel like so much joy. Right. So like, I think that's like a superpower, right? Like the ability to feel like sadness also gives you the ability to feel happiness on the same spectrum. Like it's a swinging scale.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard as an athlete, like, right. Cause like you were talking, like playing with so much passion and stuff. The pendulum swings and it's all about kind of trying to keep it like this. I find that really difficult. Like I show all of my emotions and just whatever. Anyway, I digress. So post that injury, when you were like, I started to figure out that I needed other things, what was your first outlet that wasn't basketball?
Well, I grew up around the beach, so like obviously the beach. Yeah. Like you love the beach.
Obviously.
Always see your stuff.
Yeah.
But just being around the beach, all that kind of stuff, like just being out in nature, surfing, whatever the case is, got back into surfing. But as I've kind of got older, it's been more like breath work, meditation, all that kind of stuff, journaling, just all that good stuff, what everyone talks about.
Is the breath work, is that like the Wim Hof stuff?
Yeah, I do Wim Hof in the ice bath.
Who introduced that to you? And for people that don't know, explain a little bit about what that is.
I don't know who introduced me to it. I think I might have just seen it online, or maybe one of my boys was just do this, whatever.
Yeah.
Because after the knee injury, I was kind of just like seeking out things on YouTube and whatever. Wimmy probably popped up.
Yeah. You're like, who was this guy that's swimming in Antarctica? Like, what the hell? Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
But basically it's just like, it's a pretty simple breath work where it's like, it consists of like holding your breath for a period of time as long as you can. Do you want me to break it down completely? Yeah,
please. Go.
So it's like basically in your nose and it's like quick breaths. So it's like, and I actually don't know like the official time that you're meant to go for.
Yeah.
I just do like 30 of them.
Yep.
And then I let it all out. I hold my breath for as long as I can. And then once I need to breathe, I then do one big inhale and then I hold my breath again. And then I do 3 sets of that in the ice bath. So,
and what does that do for you? Like, what are the positive effects?
It's just, I don't know, it kind of just slows everything down. You know, and you get a little bit tingly. It just feels good. But it just slows everything down. Like for me, it just like takes you out of your mind. And especially in the ice bath, obviously, it's hard. Like it's cold.
Freezing.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's easy to handle. But it's cool.
I've read something that was written about the breath work, especially in ice baths or like cold showers or like swimming in the ocean or something. And it's like the effect that cold water has on your body when you first get in is supposed to like mimic an anxiety attack, like the shallow breaths, like the quickened heart rate, all that stuff. So when you implement like some sort of breathing through it, it's supposed to help you with your like anxiety levels and regulation outside of that, which I think is super dope.
Because you see someone who's like their first time and they absolutely lose their marbles. Get in. I'm like,
I know. I know. It's so good. Okay, so the breath work, I actually just before coming here was doing like a little interview thing about meditation because I suck at it. I find it really hard to
No one sucks at
meditation. Well, I'm not at the point yet where I can focus my brain in on one thing. But I'm really trying. How did you get into the meditation as well? Like, and also like as someone that, I mean, for myself, like I've really struggled to focus on one thing. Like that's ADHD, my boy. Yeah. So like the ability to then like hone in your thoughts, and also for professional athletes not to see meditation as something where you start levitating and mumbling. Like I'm not going to have dreadlocks and start levitating. Talk to me about that.
Again, like
unless you do levitate, by the way, in which case
sometimes, that's a secret though. But no, I think it's like kind of similar to the breath work and all that. It's just kind of just like in a dark place trying to find different avenues of how to get better as a human being, which is like kind of my mindset with all of it now. It's like I don't look at myself as a basketballer. I'm just a human who's just trying to like get better at being a human. And that's kind of similar with meditation. Like I think I've seen a few people who like I admire doing it, whatever. Not exactly sure how I got into it, but yeah, just that really. Just seeing other people do it, and I'm like, surely there's value in that. All these successful people are doing it. Give it a whirl. And you feel good after, you keep doing it, you get better. So,
So not defining yourself as a basketball player, like being a human, trying to get better as a human. I really like that. That's kind of rare in professional sports to not define yourself by the, your product on court. How hard is that in situations where like that are high intensity, like that you either play super well or super not great or whatever, like maybe things are happening with your coach or whatever at any age, like how did you learn not to define yourself by that? And like, how do you implement that now, like during and post game? Because like us defining ourselves, like what makes us so good as athletes is our ability to like be so driven and go towards perfection and all that stuff. But how do you then flip that switch to not defining yourself by what you do?
Yeah, it's a really good question. A lot of people do it. Like it's crazy how common it is in professional sport for people to just be consumed by whatever sport they do. And I was like that for a long period of time. Like I said, like I was always just basketball, but I don't necessarily think it's like the healthiest way to go about basketball. It took me a long time to get to like where I am now, and I'm still learning. But I think it's just having that mindset of like, whenever anything comes up challenging, it's like, how am I going to grow from, like Jack McVeigh, we were talking about him before the podcast, like all the stuff that he posts, I love the stuff that he posts. It's like, how am I going to grow from this challenging situation? And that's how I kind of look at it. And I look at just life as a whole. I don't try and consume, I'm not a basketballer. Because this is going to end in what? I'm 26 now. I'm a vet, as some
You're
people
a vet.
would say.
As some people. I don't know who said that. That's crazy.
But who knows how long I've got left, And after, like, let's be real, I'm not going to walk down the street and people are going to be like, oh, there's Matt Kenyon, the basketball player. Maybe one or two people here or there. But, like, I'm just going to be a regular person in society like anyone else. So for me, I've really valued just being a good human being and looking after myself as an individual. And I just happen to play basketball, happen to be good at it at times.
At times.
But still learning for sure. But it's a fun challenge. It's life.
What about like that idea of still learning, right? Like in your everyday, like how do you deal with things when you get to like setbacks and or failures, quote unquote? Like I've always seen failure as a really positive thing. But what's your view on like falling short of goals and like failures and stuff, because they do happen in like, that's what they don't teach us how to do. They don't teach us how to fail and not how to reach our goals, but it's such a reality of what we do.
I think you just hit it. Like every time I fail, I just look at it as a way to grow. And it's like a great challenge. I'm like, and sometimes it tests you. Like this last weekend, I had a DNP. And I haven't DNP'd since I was probably 18 at Brisbane. And I was pretty rattled. But it's like, all right, am I going to be in my own head? Am I going to start making excuses for other people? Whatever, this person did that, I should be playing. Or can I look at it from, all right, how am I going to be a good teammate when this is probably the hardest time to be a good teammate? When you think you should be playing, and and we won, which is fucking sick.
That was awesome.
We needed that win bad. And it was hard. And like, let's not get it twisted. Like that's reality. Professional basketball, where it's like, we just got our first win of the season. But I got a DNP. It's like, that's challenging as an individual.
That is so challenging.
And people don't understand that. And like you have to be a good teammate, but it is very difficult because your career is on the line. So but I just look at it as like, it's an amazing challenge as a human being. To like really test your ego and see like, where you're at. And like, it was cool. It was actually cool. Like I look at it, I'm like, this is pretty sick. Like,
Past you would never.
Exactly. But I'm like, I haven't been tested like this since I was 18. It's like, it's cool. Like, what am I going to learn?
The ego in professional sports, how to put that aside to be a supportive teammate. Do you think those two things can live together? Like being like a super successful, passionate athlete and being a supportive teammate, they do thrive at the same time, you think?
100%.
Yeah,
I think it has to be. Like we all have egos to a certain extent, but it's just about how you navigate through all of that. But yeah, it definitely sits there. Obviously, like that's just reality.
Yeah. No, so true. It is actually super hard. Like I've had a few of those in my career. Like I think of like times that I've been with the Opals or like even a little bit of time in the WNBA, I was like, I'm like, this is awesome, but I am not playing. Like that challenges your sense of self.
Yeah.
Because like when you place all your worth in what you do, but you're not doing the do.
Yeah.
It's like,
for sure.
It's so rattling, right? So you go home after that game. Obviously your brain's doing the things.
Yeah.
How do you turn Kenny brain off that?
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Had a few wines.
Yeah.
Last night, 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a few wines.
Yeah.
Kicked it with the boys and whatever. But usually, honestly, like I'll meditate, sleep on it.
Yeah.
And I think sleeping on it's good sometimes. You just like, fresh start, fresh day. Usually have a day off after the game.
Yeah.
So like for me, a day off, like I'll just go through all like my habits that I know make me feel good, you know, like as a human. Like, and just forget about basketball. And then the next day, I know I've done everything that I need to do to feel good. And now it's just like, okay, be a good teammate, do what you do consistently, and everything will take care of itself.
I really like that. I like also, we are lucky enough that we do get days off post some big games. But what about the ones where you have to like travel the next day? What would be your advice to not just your younger self, but I guess to the younger athletes, like maybe playing in tournament play or maybe just getting started in the league?
It's tough. What advice would I give?
Well, not to your younger self, because that's a separate question. This is to kids right now.
I would say just, well, kids, I mean, don't take it too seriously. You're young, you're just hooping, just have fun with it. But I think like, especially when you're in your own head, say you had a bad game or whatever the case is, like again, talking about our guy, Jack, he always talks about like taking yourself away and doing something for someone else. And that gets you out of your own head. So being a good teammate and kind of focusing on other people, it gets you out of your own head because you're not thinking about what I've done wrong, if I played bad, whatever. So I think for me, it would be that. I think it's getting around your teammates and whatever, and then also doing the right things. Like if you are traveling or whatever, it's a hard schedule. It's like you got to do the recovery, do all that right stuff.
What's your why? Like not for sport, just for you. Like
as a human.
Yeah. What's your human why?
I'm really close with my mum. She did so much for me growing up. She worked like multiple jobs, worked her ass off just to like pay for my basketball and whatever. And she still comes. She sleeps in her van. She has like a van.
She's a van life.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
She's sick.
My mum does that too.
She's fucking awesome. She's the best. Like she still sleeps in her van and like comes to my games in Melbourne. She's like my biggest supporter. But seeing her growing up, like just working her ass off, and like I would hear her crying in her room like at night because she's so exhausted, and like but she was just so relentless in like just being a great mother. It kind of instilled in me how to be relentless and to never, you know, feel pity or sorry for myself and just keep moving forward. So I think my mum's a big why. Like she's to make her proud. Like she doesn't care she obviously wants me to play well. Like any parent does. But she just wants me to be happy, you know, like she doesn't care. So, but to make her proud, that's a big one. And then also make my younger self proud and just feel happy with how I navigate life on a day-to-day basis. And if I'm a good person, I think that's a big thing for me.
So what would you say to your younger self? Like general message, you're getting to sit down with like, let's say like 12-year-old you get to sit down with him. What are you telling him?
Oof. I'd start off by just saying relax.
Like, just take a breath, man.
Take a breath, bro. It's going to be all right. Like, it's fine. Simmer down a bit. And then just trust your journey, you know? Like, it doesn't necessarily matter what happens on the day-to-day, but just trust what's going to happen and your path. I think that's a big thing. That's something that I live by all the time is like, water's going to rise to its level kind of thing. And I know, like, I'm always going to end up where I'm meant to end up. Yeah.
I like that. Where'd you get that from?
Secret.
Like he's levitating in secret.
I actually don't know.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. So you have some like creative pursuits kind of, right? Like you do some creative stuff.
Somewhat.
Talk about that slightly.
Are we talking about social media and stuff?
Yeah, just creative stuff.
Yeah.
It's
an
and how do you feel putting yourself out there and all that?
This is an interesting conversation that I'm like pretty keen to talk about, because I don't think Australian athletes take advantage of branding themselves enough. Like if you look at the NBL, like no one really has a massive following, or as they should. Like these guys should have massive followers, massive sponsorships. Not saying followers is everything, you know.
No, but it's personal brand. Yeah.
Yeah, your personal brand. And not everyone has to do it, of course.
No.
But if you are into that and you are happy to be vulnerable, it's like there's a massive market that is untapped in Australian sport. And people are like willing to pay a lot of money if you do have that. And I think it's just something that's untapped. And I like being creative. I think it's fun. And everything that I post is like pretty authentic.
Yeah,
like,
it's you.
It's stuff that I like to do anyway. So I'm not forcing the issue. But yeah, I think I was just like, fuck it, why not?
Do you ever like get scared putting yourself out there?
Sometimes. And then I realize I'm like, it actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm like, it actually doesn't matter at all. It's like, fuck it. Who cares?
I had this conversation not long ago because women can be awful, and we like to tear each other down often.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's the same with guys. Like you guys talk shit, whatever, but like it's like, and the thing in Australia is like that tall poppy syndrome. Like we're not very great at like building each other up and supporting each other. Like we kind of want to cut each other down all the time.
Yeah.
And like you see someone put themselves out there, and maybe it is on social media, maybe it is like them just trying something new or whatever. Instead of like supporting each other, which I think Americans actually do a good job at, which I hate to admit because that hurts.
Nah, you're right.
But like we really do be tearing each other down.
It's crazy.
And like I guess like what I'm trying to say is like how do we cultivate that as not vets, but people that have been in this arena for a little bit longer, to make people feel more comfortable to like put themselves out there? Because like, how do you like, I don't know what to tell the younger girls that like want to start posting stuff, because I'm like, well, you're going to get a lot of hate, but then it'll be okay. And then you'll get more hate after, but it'll be okay at some point, you know?
I think it's just setting an example. Like you posting is you helping them. Because like I've even noticed like in small groups that I'm in, like I'll post something and then all of a sudden like young fella over there is posting. I'm like, oh, nice little day in the life you got going on there. But I think it's just posting. But it's a very interesting conversation.
Right?
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, why do we not support each other? And in sport, right? Like in a team environment, like not saying like your team doesn't support you or my team doesn't support me, they're great.
Nah, same.
But like it's like, why do we feel like scared to do that? Do you think? Like I
don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
right?
what it is. It's strange, but
like you see the Americans doing it, like at college and stuff. Like everyone's putting themselves out there, but we are scared to do that.
You know what's funny as well? It's like if someone starts and they have like no followers, no one cares what they're posting, they're just being consistent, everyone's like, that's weird, like that's lame, whatever.
Yeah.
And as soon as they're like successful, it's like, dude, your life's sick. Like, how do I get like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're shitting on the same person.
Exactly.
When you, just started.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. It's one of those things, but I'm grateful that I'm like comfortable in myself enough to not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like I just
not care.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hopefully gets better in Australia. But
like the other side of that creative stuff, like picking up a camera, how did that start for you? Also, you take film photos, right? Was that first, or was the
film photos was first.
Film was first. How did you get into that?
I think I was young and I just seen like some surfers or something like, just post film photos. I was like, that's cool. I love like the grainy look.
Yeah.
It's like it just looks sick, and it's like the whole process of just like going to get it developed, not knowing what it looks like, even having like mishaps, and it's like there's no roll in the camera and you're like, sick.
Great.
But yeah, I just like the whole process of it, and it just looks sick. And I think I started when I was like pretty young, to be honest. I was like 18, knew nothing, still don't really know anything about it, to be honest.
Figuring it out.
Just had a crack, and I like it, and I just like something I love to do. And I think when I was 18, actually, maybe like even when I was doing my knee, I was like, just picked it up. I was like, I'm just gonna buy one and just have a crack.
Yeah. Creative pursuits kind of help in general life as an athlete.
Oh yeah.
It's like you know?
Yeah.
People can't hear what I'm doing with my hands. Sorry. What I said was it helps with you. I did a really nice thing with my hands there. Anyway, I digress. And do you read much? Are you a reader? And if so, what type of stuff do you read?
Yeah, I mainly read like self-help books and stuff. Not necessarily reading, non-fiction.
I'm like the complete opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a
Sick.
fantasy reader.
I respect people who read that
Yeah,
stuff.
I get really like if I open the book and there's like a map at the start of it, I'm like, this is about to be my shit. Like, and then there's like dragons and magic and whatever. But sorry, the reading. What have you read recently that has been very good for you?
I read all sorts of self-help books, like Atomic Habits is really
Loved that. I have read that. Yeah.
What's a book? Something about small talk. Like I have anxiety and sometimes overthink situations and things like that. So I always trying to like learn as a human. So like I'm just trying to like drop my ego and just be like, oh, actually I need to get better in that aspect of life. I'm just going to grab that book and see how I go. But what else? A few books. I can't remember the names right now.
Can I ask you some questions about your anxiety? Are you comfortable with me asking?
Yeah, hell yeah.
What makes you anxious? Like, or you're not 100% sure? Like, it's just kind of like a plethora of things.
Yeah, like a bit of everything. Like just, even this, for example, like it's just like
anxious.
Cameras and everything. I'm just like, fuck, this is like not. But like in a group setting or whatever, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like cool, but I don't know. Like I just just feel. Sometimes it comes in waves too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I feel great, and then other times I'm like, I'm full stressing.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things.
And like that, you spoke before about like how you are like open and vulnerable. And I say this a lot to my teammates. I say like, when you are feeling anxious, like talk to me, like say something. Does it help being able to tell someone what you're feeling like in the moment, or are you kind of like deal with you in your lane type of thing?
I think like, especially in a basketball setting, obviously you're friends with everyone.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time, but there's certain people on teams that you just gravitate towards more. So those people you are really close with, you can have those conversations. But I think sometimes I am dealing with it myself, but I think they're very healthy ways to deal with it. Like I've kind of learned, like I said, I read books, I listen to podcasts and things to learn about how to navigate it, because we all go through it. Like everyone's got some sort of anxiety or whatever, something. Yeah. So I would say that.
Do you see, and have you ever seen a psych?
It's funny. So no.
Okay, yeah.
No, I haven't. I'm a big believer in it, and I always have. And I think a lot of people are probably like this, are like, I probably should go.
Yeah.
It's something so easy to put off, so easy. It's like, I'll get around to it. And even me, I've been doing it now. Yeah. Like before I came to Melbourne, I was like, I really need to see a psych. I'm like struggling, whatever. And I asked the Players Association. Tyson sent me a bunch of people, and I still haven't gone to see one, And so many people do that. But, I'm for psychs, but no, I haven't been to one yet.
Yeah. Big ups to David Stiff. He's a good egg. If you can ever get in contact with him, he is awesome.
I've heard he's great.
He's really cool. He's like, he speaks in metaphors sometimes, but he's great. The one thing I will say about seeing a psych to people listening that haven't and maybe are thinking about it, it is totally okay to walk into a room and not vibe with someone and leave. Like I've done that multiple times, because I also can't do the online thing. I can't do the what do you call it, like the Zoom psychs or whatever. So when I move, I change psychs, because I can't I can't speak to someone over the phone, or like I need the human connection thing. It's part of the reason that I refuse to do these things not face to face. Like I need the
sick.
Yeah. So it is, I've been through a lot where I go in and I like might be talking to them for 10 minutes and I'm harsh about it. And I'm like, this has been great, but I don't,
really?
I'm not.
Sick.
Yeah. Cause it's like, you know, a vibe with someone and like, you can tell if they're going to like relate with you pretty soon. So I would say my only advice is to be okay walking out of a place that doesn't vibe or suit your energy.
Yeah.
And like, you can tell straight away, trust your gut. Like you kind of know.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah. And some people stick with the one person because they're like, oh, like I have to, or like maybe they'll grow on me.
Right. Yeah.
Usually they don't.
You know.
You totally
you
know.
Quick.
At every point, you totally know.
Gotcha.
So, the Players Association, they have kind of helped give you some resources and stuff, and like you would recommend kind of reaching out to them to like help
100%.
with stuff?
I mean, that's one of the great things that Players Association do among all the other things. But the fact that we have access to any psych, like I asked Tyson and within a day he sent me a whole list of people in Melbourne, like so many different options. So to have that, like a lot of people don't have that. So to have that, whenever I want is sick. So you should definitely take advantage of it if you're a player in basketball in Australia.
He's talking to himself right now, guys.
I am.
Okay, so there's a little asterisk here to talk about Movember. So you're an ambassador this year.
Yeah. So I'm going to look like a goose for a month straight.
So I asked you this before. Do you know what you look like without facial hair? Or you can't remember?
I don't like it. I haven't probably shaved baby face for like 4 or 5 years. Maybe.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's going to be hectic.
That's crazy.
On national television.
Are you going to have like a tan line, do you think?
I actually thought about that yesterday. I was sitting in the sun. I was like, I can't get too.
Yeah, you're going to have like an actual beard, but just with tan?
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, you can face.
That'd be horrible.
When we get off camera, I'll show you the fake tan. Yeah, you'll have to fake tan your face.
But yeah, I came from Gold Coast in the off season, played there, came to Melbourne. I just came to Az and I was like, dude, I just want to like use the platform for good, and I just want to do some cool stuff throughout the year because you do all these promos. And, like, they're great. Don't get me wrong, but I want to do something that's like close to my heart. And something that I like really enjoy. And that's a space that obviously relate to a lot. I've had my own personal issues, and it's cool. Just raise a bunch of money. Look like an idiot on TV for a month, and hopefully people get around it. And
Have you considered like bedazzling the mo?
No. Sorry, I'm swearing too much.
No, you're not. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. But like, what about like some like bleached stripes or something?
No.
Like if you're gonna do it,
I'm already gonna look like an idiot.
So go full, do the thing. By the end of the month, he's gonna have a bedazzled mustache.
Yeah, and you can thank Annalise.
Yeah, it'll be great. So are some of your other teammates doing it as well?
No, I haven't. Oh, I think Glove might get around it. He was doing it the other day just for fun.
Love.
So
I'm
that. Sure he probably will. But I don't know if too many more will.
Okay.
Maybe I can get him on my side.
New coach. Get him on. Get him on the Movember train.
Yeah.
We have one of my new assistant coaches, Nick. I don't even know his last name. Nick has one of the most impressive mustaches I've ever seen.
Yeah, what are we talking?
Like it kind of goes like this and like comes around his mouth a little bit, but it's like thick and like looks like he's got a stick-on mustache on. Yeah. Anyway, but I think it's just like a man thing that they end up, all the male coaches end up looking exactly the same because now Ryan started to come to our head coach. Ryan started to come to practice. There? They have the same haircut, similar mustache going on. No. And then when I asked them about it, they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you guys look like twins. What's happening here? But they'll never admit it. Anyway, I got distracted. Okay, if you weren't playing basketball, what do you think you would be doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah? Is that kind of like the whole space, like you're trying to figure out the post-basketball thing too, or that's nothing you've given much thought to?
Nah, considering I'm a 26-year-old vet now.
Come on, you've got like at least another 10 years in you.
I've been thinking about it as I've got older, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I would love to do something creative. I would love to dive deeper into photography potentially. Start my own brand. I'm working on like a little brand at the moment.
What type of brand? Plug yourself.
Like, beach accessories and stuff.
Cool.
No, I haven't started it yet.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
it's in the works. It's in the works.
Right. Just beach accessories like tote bags, hats, all that jazz.
Dope. That's so cool.
See where that goes, yeah.
Are you doing like all of the concept designs and stuff yourself? Like teaching yourself Illustrator and Photoshop and all that?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of that.
Nice.
That's another good way to just like get out of basketball.
Yeah.
Well. Just go home and just laptop for a couple hours.
Like the Adobe Creative Cloud goes so deep.
Yeah.
I did that stuff at school. So I did graphic design at school and I love that stuff. Yeah. Like it's so fun. Like you just get to create something out of nothing on some pixels on a laptop.
It's sick.
So what are we thinking? When's that going to be? When are we going to say that? Like a year or two, or like?
I reckon give it. I would like to say 2 years.
Okay.
I would like to.
Okay.
You know
save the date. Yeah.
But stay tuned.
Yeah. So that's kind of like your future post basketball.
Potentially, yeah.
And then if I was to ask you like what your goals are in the future, are you a goal setter?
No, I'm actually not.
Okay.
I kind of just, I just go through life and just kind of free flowing and see where it takes me.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then tell us something about you that people wouldn't know or expect.
I actually hate this question.
Yeah.
I actually don't know how to answer it. I mean, I've just spoke about a lot of it.
Yeah. You don't have like
I'm not that mysterious.
Do you watch any weird TV shows?
Nah, I don't really watch TV.
You're not like an anime or a cartoon guy or anything like that?
Nah, I'm not. I'm like not mysterious at all.
Dang.
Like, if you look at my socials, that's pretty much who I am.
Okay. All right. Well, usually people have like, who was it that showed us the dancing video in the rain? Who was that?
I want to see this.
Tucker. Yeah, he did like a step up dancing video in the rain.
Is it out there? Can I see it?
Yeah, it's on other. Yeah, I'll show you. He like literally does the full thing where he like stamps in the puddle and like.
Oh my
yeah.
God. Was it cool or was it?
He's had some rhythm. He had some rhythm. All my dancing videos from when I was like 14 don't look like that.
Nah.
Yeah, on the like Apple, the photo booth. Like, did you ever do that? Like with your friends, like just like muck around on photo booth?
About, but I didn't do it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad those don't exist anymore. I'm getting off track, but at our media day yesterday, our media guy went through and found like all old Facebook photos of everyone. And I'm so happy I deleted Facebook last year because they couldn't find anything. I was really happy about that, but they're pulling out some stuff from everyone's Facebook.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Like,
do you still have your Facebook on public?
No comment.
Yeah. Go look for it.
What, like for TBHs?
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Because I went through my Facebook last year and I was like, oh my God, what do I even have on here? Wild. The like for TBH was actually kind of crazy. Or like
just a
all the
honest opinion.
Yeah.
At 12 years old.
You're like, I think you're like a 7 out of 10, but like cool taste in music. But anyway, X. Like what? What is that?
Yeah, you didn't wave to me once, so I don't really know about you.
Yeah. Oh, that actually hurts my brain.
Okay, cool.
That and MySpace, which I don't think anyone really uses anymore. Really cool. Yeah, that and Club Penguin, actually. I'm down for Club Penguin. Oh, come on, man. Okay, my last question. How do you think people perceive you versus who you actually are, and is there a gap between the two?
I don't really know how people perceive me. I don't really care at this point in my life. Like, I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a lot of people would have different opinions of me depending on what experiences they had with me, or if they don't know me, they might think I'm just this beachy guy. Some people might, if you look at my socials, might think I don't care about basketball or I'm just straight surfy, whatever.
Yeah.
But, they can have whatever perceptions they want, but I know who I am and I know I'm a good person. So
yeah. And that's what you put out into the universe.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
I just want to be a good person and try my best with everything I do and see where it goes.
That is a great answer to that question. You know, I think that like I might end up changing the way I ask that, because like I kind of want, it's like the question is more about like, how you want to put yourself out to the universe and how that energy flows back, and how as long as you're true to what you're putting out, the perception is kind of irrelevant, right? We need a workshop, a better way to ask that question.
Can I ask you that question?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm perceived completely different to how I actually am. And I know that's partially my own fault, right? So like, I put out a lot about myself where that doesn't reflect actually how I'm feeling. So a lot of the time in interactions with people, when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm just like, yeah, I'm great, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't reflect the way I actually feel.
Yeah.
So my, what I put out there versus how I actually feel is actually, I'm trying to close that gap and be more vulnerable, because I do talk about things online, but when it comes to like my day-to-day interactions, I don't usually let people see me being vulnerable, which is something I'm trying to be better at.
Cool.
Because it's really hard.
It is hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you feel so deeply and then you're just on this, like it's hard to put out how you actually feel, because then it's scary when it's not received the way that you want it to be received. 100%. Right?
I resonate with that because we did a piece with Movember recently. Like, we made a video for them. Yeah. And I was kind of telling my story and whatever. And one thing that I spoke about was on social media all my stuff, especially in the off season. I was on the Gold Coast and I was living on the beach, like literally on the beach. I was surfing twice a day.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like 25 degrees and sunny every day. I'm like living the dream. Yeah. Professional basketball player. Yeah. Like amazing. And if you looked at my socials, you'd be like, this guy's the perfect life. Like,
he's living.
He's living. But I was like probably in the worst mental space in like my whole life. Yeah. Like really, really struggling. Yeah. And to be more real, especially on socials, like that's really hard.
It's really hard.
Really hard. So that's kind of why I'm doing it like Movember. Yeah. I guess like that's a big part of it for me is just like, you know, I'm not perfect. Yeah. My life is not perfect. Yeah. I'm sorry that I put out all this like, cool shit sometimes. Yeah. Whatever, but yeah.
I have a question. So do you ever fear that your mental health will be viewed as a negative from a basketball business perspective? Because that's something that has always made me super scared. And I've had some really positive experiences with it where I'm open with like GMs and coaches like, hey, when I'm changing my medication for my antidepressants, I probably won't be able to practice. Like I'll be a bit out of it. Like, and then I've had it where they've been super supportive. And then I've had it where they're like, oh no, you have to come to practice. You have to do it anyway. Like, do you ever have a fear that like it will hinder your opportunities, like being open about your mental health?
Yeah, for sure. Especially like this past off season, like before I was coming into preseason, I was, like I said, really struggling, like really, really in a bad place, like to the point where I was like, I actually don't know if I can like just dive into preseason right now. And I spoke to Mike at the time, he was our coach, and I spoke to him. I was just like, dude, I'm not doing well. Yeah. And that was hard because that played in my mind. Like what you were saying, I was like, do I tell them? Yeah. Like, are they going to be like, he's not in the right mental space to like perform for us? Yeah. So like we feel bad for him, we're going to help him, but at the same time, like I don't know if there's minutes there for him because of that. Yeah. And that definitely plays on your mind.
It's terrifying.
It's scary.
It's terrifying.
But then like at the end of the day, it's like in myself, I'm like, no, I have to get myself right. Yeah. I also have to speak to people about it. And I'm not going to let my career get in the way of my mental health and looking after myself. So I think that's where I kind of went with it. But no, it's definitely scary.
It's
for sure.
So scary. Yeah. And like the idea that like high pressure situations, like, oh, we can't rely on them. Because I've had a coach say that to me before. Yeah. That like, oh, I can't rely on you in high pressure situations because your anxiety will get the better of you, which is not the case. Shit. Like, it's not how it works.
Right. No,
I mean, sometimes that is how it works, but not really. Like, you know, like sometimes we just miss shots. It's not because I'm having an anxiety attack on the court. Sometimes basketball doesn't do what I need it to do. And I usually look down at my hands and go like, why did you do that? Like, please stop. No, there's like so many photos of me mid-game, like doing the Italian hand. But like, it's a misconception that you can't perform. It's weird because it's like you want to be able to be like, hey, yes, it does affect my performance, but I can be a high performance athlete and still struggle with these things. How do you see the balance of that, like being like, I can perform and do my best and do these amazing things while I'm struggling with this, but then also like I need to take time for myself? It's kind of like a push-pull, right?
Well, I think like the people who are going through, like everyone's going through stuff, obviously, but the people who are aware of it and like attacking it head on, sometimes they deal with those situations better than someone who's just neglecting it and neglecting it and not doing anything for it, you know? So like we might be, I don't know who's to say, but like we might be more prepared other people, you know, because we have solutions to it, rather than just sitting on court being like, oh my God, I'm stressed out, whatever, I can't deal with it. But I don't know. I don't know.
No, I like that. So, I'm sorry, I have more questions.
No, you're all good.
So, the like coming into preseason this year after having a really hard off season, how was like, first of all, like scary moving from a place where you're, like you said, like surfing and in a really like happy environment, like not necessarily in the best brain space, but like your environment is good. How do you set up your environment to like help your mental space in a positive way? Because I know for me, like I'm actually scared of moving away from Perth because I need the beach and I need the sun and I need that little life that I've made for myself that helps with my mental space. And like when I do have panic attacks, I do know now that I'm literally one of those weirdos that go lie on the beach on the sand without a towel, like just feeling the sand. Like it's so nice. So how do you create like, how did you create then a space for yourself that was conducive to like being the best Kenny, I guess?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was living on the Gold Coast, and when I was there, I kind of like slipped with all of the journaling and the breath work and like all those habits because I had all my friends there.
Yeah.
I was living in this beautiful space where I'm like, I'm good. I'm like on the beach, whatever. And I kind of neglected it a little bit.
Okay.
So that's why, like, I kind of knew why it was happening. And I obviously had other things going on in my life.
Yeah.
But then when I moved to Melbourne and I was like, all right, my family's in Queensland. My friends are in Queensland. I'm moving to a new team, new house.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't in the same house, different. I didn't have a roommate at the time, so I was living alone as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the one thing that I can rely on, and I always have been able to rely on, are like those small things on a day-to-day that just make me feel good, you know?
Yeah.
So like getting off my phone, breathwork, meditation, journaling, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So I was like, I just need to implement that, like a routine on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
So like when I first got here, I was just like waking up like way earlier than I usually would to start my day, just so I could get that stuff done. So I just set myself up for success throughout the days. Yeah.
Yeah. God, it is scary leaving your comfort bubble. Hey, like especially with the friends and the family and the all of that. And then I guess coming to a city that's very different from where you were, but Melbourne's got a vibe.
Melbourne's sick.
Melbourne's got a vibe. Yeah. It's got the coffee and the music and the... What type of music do you listen to?
Everything. I hate to say everything because everyone's...
Everything? Yeah,
but
okay.
Like acoustic, indie, like folk, country a little bit now. You know, everyone's kind of getting on that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. Do you play any of your own? Like, do you sing and or guitar and anything like that?
I play guitar a little bit, but I haven't been playing in ages. But yeah, guitar. I used to be able to sing when I was young, but
you probably still could.
No, I can't. I'll try.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay,
I can't.
Right. One of those ones where you like sing and record yourself and you listen back and you're like, oh no, no.
I've actually done that when I was younger. I swear that sounded good.
Yeah, I swear I hit that note, and then you listen back and you're like, crap, man, it's not it. It's not it.
Delete those voice memos.
Yes, the voice memos. Yeah. Well, mine was on photo booth, so love that. Glad we don't have that computer anymore. Anyway, okay, I've yapped enough, and you need to get to the beach. So I had a lot of basketball questions here, but I don't really care. So we're just going to leave those. I really appreciate you coming on and being vulnerable and talking about this stuff, especially I think the men's mental health space is a massive gap. We don't talk about it enough, not just in sports, but in general. And I think there's something super powerful about like, you know, a male basketball player is supposed to be like the pinnacle of masculinity, right? But to be able to like talk about vulnerabilities and be open and still have that be like you're still out here like performing and killing the game. Like that is what this is all about. Like when I started this pod, I wanted to talk about mental health in a performance space, but then also just like, I want people to listen and learn a little bit about who you are, you know, like, and you saying things about like you caring about being a good person over everything else. Like, I think that is actually the vibe that I feel across the table. Cause that is, I mean, the energy that we give out is the energy that we get back. So I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. That was Under the Surface with Matt Kenyon and/or Kenny. And I'm your host, Annalie Maley. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
No, I appreciate you having me, Annalie.